Welcome again, everybody, to Ham Radio Perspectives. My name is Quinn. My call sign is K8QS.
And I'm Tom, WA9TDD.
Tom, we're talking about ham radio follies, 10 ham radio follies. Go for it.
Okay, number one, folly is promoting the hobby as the answer to emergency communications, but nobody ever prepares for it.
Yeah, so we sell the hobby. We tell everybody, we tell the FCC and all, the hobby is all about emergency communication. But most of us don't prepare. We're not ready to go with emergency communication other than maybe operating from the car or something. So there's a bit of a gap there. There's a bit of a folly. Folly number two, buying new gear, equipment, accessories, et cetera, because of problems with equipment and accessories, et cetera, we've already bought. So we're buying more stuff to deal with other issues. For example, you buy a rig, you got an antenna up, you start to operate and you realize that, oh boy, I need an antenna tuner. But to really know what's going on with the antenna tuner, I also need to buy an antenna analyzer. Not only that, I don't think I can trust the rig to tell me how much power I'm running. So I better get a power meter of some kind, a watt meter. You know, and then you buy one that's good, only up to 100, and it's a cheap thing, and it doesn't work very well, and on it goes. We're constantly buying new stuff to deal with problems caused by previous stuff. And my favorite example of this, though, Tom, is toroids. Toroids to fix interference, RF interference. I've got a snoot full of those, a couple of boxes of them. I've got more toroids than former President Carter ever had peanuts.
Folly number three is boasting about trivial rig specs. The QRZ reviews, the EHAM reviews, the Sherwood audio reports to impress others and to justify your exorbitant spending. It's crazy.
I wonder if those minor differences in sensitivity and selectivity and third harmonic distortion and all, which all get written up seriously, and people really want to buy rigs for those. I wonder how much that's true, or we just kind of convince ourselves that the specs are a tiny bit better on this rig, even though it costs another $2,500. I'm going to justify that $2,500 because those specs seem just a little bit better. I bet that's the case. All right, ham radio folly number four, spending years, maybe decades, optimizing your single sideband audio quality. For what? Are you saying anything important, or is it just a matter of the quality of the audio? Tom, I'm amazed that people will spend $250 or $300 on a microphone to use on normal single sideband that's 1.8 or 2 kilohertz wide, but people do it, and then they buy all kinds of processors. I remember, Tom, the age everybody was buying compressors. Now a lot of the new rigs have compression in them and all, but you can spend so much on audio stuff. And I'm not talking, by the way, about these guys out there that do the voodoo audio. Maybe you've heard them. They're using flex rigs and other rigs to do 4 kilohertz wide audio on sideband to make it sound really good. Well, that's a little experimental thing, and they're putting a lot of money into that to sound good. The Lord bless them for doing that. It's like going back to old records or something. I don't mind that at all. But for most of us, if we spend a lot of money on audio stuff, it's not worth it.
Oh. Folly number five. You check into a net along with 41 other guys, and then you completely disappear. You ghost the whole net. They finally get around to calling your call sign, and it's like dead air. What's the poor net control guy got to do? Does he wait for you to respond, or does he go on to the next person on that list? I've seen it often on 2-meter nets, especially in urban areas. Poof, you end up with 3 guys on a net.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It's true. Okay, here we go with ham radio folly number 6, turning 2 minutes of information into a 45-minute QSO. Remember, you just got the basics. You got signal, you got equipment, You got look at my QRZ page. You got something about the weather, maybe your age, or to say you're retired, or what you do, or whatever. So you got about 2 minutes worth of stuff. And people get so slow about this. Oh, the weather here yesterday, Charlie. I tell you, it was wild. I woke up in the morning to this strong wind, and I had to look out, see if my antennas were still up. And they were, boy, oh boy. But it was windy here yesterday, and we had rain, and it was high humidity. And the guy goes on and on now for 2 or 3 minutes just talking about yesterday's weather, not even today's current weather. And he's stretching this QSO out to 45 minutes where they're going back and forth, each of them taking about 10 minutes to talk, assuming they know they have to ID after 10 minutes. And there's almost no content of significance in it. It's one of the great follies in ham radio that we love. You know, here is ham radio number 7, pretending that your license class proves your technical, engineering, and operating proficiency. I have an extra class license, and I hold my nose up high and look down at others. To a measly technician or a general. We don't say much about advanced class anymore because they don't give them. But boy, oh boy, Tom, that was the toughest exam at the FCC that I took, that advanced.
That was the equivalent of getting a degree in electronics.
Yeah, or like a first class radio telephone or whatever.
Right.
So, yeah, there are some differences in what you have to know and all, but now with the questions and answers being provided, I think it's a little bit of a folly to take ourselves too seriously because of the license class we have. And besides, I talk to some guys that are just technicians that they know a lot more than I do.
Right.
So it is kind of a folly, I think. All right, let's go on, Tom.
Okay, folly number 8 is you start hoarding radio-related junk like they were sacred relics. You've collected them, you've put them essentially on an altar to radio hamdom, which eventually turns into a mausoleum of radio equipment. But you keep buying more and more and more, and then you forget that the junk you had, when you need it, you can't find it. It's buried somewhere in this junkyard of hoarded radio equipment.
Oh boy, we all do it.
You should pass away and hope that your heirs figure out what to do with it.
Yeah. Start unloading stuff now, gang. And in the process of trying to unload, you will unearth some of the bones, the relics that you've got there that you've already bought new ones of, and you can sell them off. The thing for me always, Tom, was coax connectors. I bet I bought 46,000 coax connectors of one kind or another. SO239s, PL259s, connectors to put two PL259s in, on and on it would go. And then when I needed one, I could not find it. And so I would buy more.
You didn't have the proper one.
Right. Yeah, the converters would get me too, to go from one type of connector to another connector. But at any rate, these are all relics, and we cherish them in the hobby. So collect them and continue to venerate them. Okay, how about here's ham radio folly number 9, complaining about newcomers into the hobby, but also complaining that we need to get newcomers in order to save the hobby. Okay, so you tune across a band and you get guys mouthing off, complaining about these newcomers. They don't know how to do this, and they don't know how to do that, and they screw up on different ways that they should be connecting to people, and they don't check the frequency first before calling, and all these complaints and all. And then 10 minutes later, you hear the same guy and his cronies saying, boy, oh boy, the hobby is dying off. It's all a bunch of old guys. I was just at the Ham Fest, and I bet the average age there was 97, and everybody was on a scooter. We have to get some young people in. Meanwhile, they're bad-mouthing the young people.
Right.
Oh, boy.
Okay. Ham radio folly number 10, the final on the list, is proclaiming that every ham should have to suffer the way you did in order to get your ticket. Learning Morse code. Learning which resistor has so much voltage drop with the current, so on and so forth, that you did on the test. The test that you took going down to the government building, crawling on your hands and knees on 6 feet of snow in the middle of winter. you have to suffer for your hobby.
It's the rite of
Okay.
passage, Tom.
It's the rite of passage. It's also the Stockholm syndrome. You're held captive by this, and you can't let go.
Ah, that's a good analogy. So we all have a little bit of this in us. We want people to have gone through some of the difficulties that we have. And as we did in a previous video, sometimes I even think to be a real ham, you have to have been shocked really bad by a RF and thrown across the room. That makes you a real ham. At any rate, here are 10 ham radio follies. And we like ham radio follies just like we love the hobby. We too are people of folliness. So we hope you enjoyed these. Please subscribe. We're Ham Radio Perspectives. We take the hobby seriously, but we also have fun with the hobby because that's, I think, Tom, what makes most hobbies the most fun. I'm Quinn, K8QS.
And I'm Tom, WA9TDD.
See y'all later, gang.